Good afternoon. I'm your host, Steve Bassnett, and along with my co-host, Aaron Marsden, I would like to welcome everyone on behalf of CANASA and Security Canada to our weekly online learning session. I'd like to say a special thank you to Salient Systems for their support and sponsoring today's session. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing Josh Keaton. Josh is the Regional Sales Manager, Upstate New York and Eastern Canada for Salient Systems. In this role, he is in charge of business development, sales, and customer development for his region, where he facilitates system designs and makes product recommendations. Feel free to type any questions you may have for Josh during the session into the chat window, and he will respond during the Q&A portion, roughly 20 minutes from now. I'll now turn the session over to Josh. Welcome, Josh, and thanks for being with us today.
Steve, thank you for having me so much. Appreciate it. All right, do we have my screen showing?
Yep, looks good.
All right, outstanding. Well, thanks again, everybody, for joining me. I know we're I think officially at pretty much the 52-week mark of having to deal with this reality of COVID and having to spend way more of our time than we want to in front of our computers. So I can tell you, as someone who's been doing a lot of these, I really appreciate your time. Certainly at this point, I'm excited about talking about where Salient's going in the future and how we plan to move forward here as we embrace what happens here going forward. So thanks again. So again, my name is Josh Keaton. I'm with Salient. Great to be here again. Salient as a software organization, we've been around for about 25 years, and so we've spent a lot of time, particularly over the last year during COVID, really kind of investing in the product and renewing some of what we've been doing before, right? So we've put a lot more resources into our product development, and so a lot of what we're going to see today is stuff that we've been augmenting and developing for some time, and these refinements are really starting to prove forth, right? So as a video management software provider, what we really want to do is we want to specialize in managing the video portion of that physical security component. So whether you're an enterprise organization that is primarily using your video surveillance tool, if you're using it more as a complementary tool with your access control, if there are new AI tools and artificial intelligence that has been developed by some third party that maybe you've seen that you think that might have value to your organization, or you think that you have customers who may like to take advantage of some of that technology. What Salient really is trying to do is to have that third-party friendly solution that both provides this level of security that the enterprise client needs, but also the flexibility to take advantage of some of the new technologies that are out there. So as we look into some of these things, certainly the big salient points for us is how we can really easily scale up day to day, right? So we've got a few different versions of our software. We've got lower end versions that have limited functionalities for smaller deployments, larger, more enterprise focused, where we've got failover and monitor walls and all sorts of things that the enterprise client expects. But while we still really do focus on that bandwidth independence, and that's so important for us because we do want to make sure that we're not clogging up the existing infrastructure, because so many of the infrastructures that we have to deal with these days are those decisions were made decades ago, so we have to kind of deal with it as it is. The fully open architecture, the second real big salient point here, the open architecture really, as we get into 2021 and as I think the market continues to really innovate around new AI tools and different sort of hardware, different technologies that are on the camera side, on the head end side as well. We can really take advantage of those because we've got the open architecture. We're committed to working with every camera manufacturer that's out there, pretty much many of the access control partners that are out there. And it really is about simplifying that process, giving you in the channel or you in the end user community more tools at your disposal. So these are all the kind of organizations that we work with. We've got direct drivers written for all these cameras. And in the cases where they're part of OnVIF, we've got the OnVIF profiles as well. We're working on completing our integrations with all the different portfolios of OnVIF, so including some of the more advanced features in Profile T and beyond. So that's a really exciting part about where we are this year, and is a big part of the investment that we've made in making sure that the integrations component is as tight as it can be. And of course, making the interface very easy. We'll look at the software a little bit. I know we're limited for time, and I want to make sure we're using our time well. So I don't want to spend too much time staring at me navigate around software. But it has to be easy to use. It has to be something that folks can get trained on easily. And I think we've done a really good job making it easy to uptake, and also to upgrade and maintain on the back end as well. And then, of course, like cost of ownership, right? This is what matters in so many cases. This is what the final box that has to be checked. We've got a unified platform now that's got the same look and feel, whether it's on the mobile app, whether it's on the desktop client, or whether it's on the web browser as well. So, having that single pane of glass makes it much easier to handle a long term. And then the simple licensing agreements, right? We're not going to be nailing people over the head for extra SMAs, and whenever we sell a license, our end users own it for life. So those are some really big components that I think help to kind of get us on a simple footing. But I think it'll be good to get into the bits and pieces of what comes when you're investing in Salient and when you're engaging with our product. What comes with that, right? So the Complete View 2020 is the bedrock of the solution, right? That is the video surveillance software. That's the interface that you're going to be working with most of the time, right? TouchView Mobile is our new mobile app that we actually just released a new version of it just about a month ago. So we have a brand new iOS app that is newly skinned, has all new features, has been rebuilt from the ground up. So it's going to really make the solution far more mobile and far more capable when it's in those environments. And LPR tracker, transaction tracker, and of course Viewpoint as well. Those are all add-ons that are part of our solution. So we've got a pretty rigorous solution in the retail space that we've had a host of success on that we can get into at a different time. But these are all the sort of things that really kind of make us stand out in the marketplace. And again, these are all things that come with the system. So when we talk about the most salient points of the system, we've got a couple different ones that really kind of come into play here. So when we talk about the software, we've also got to make sure we talk about the hardware that's attached to it. So we are a VMS developer. We develop our own software, but of course we have our own hardware components as well. And we've got the traditional good, better, best mentality. But these are all products that are repurposed Dell servers in a lot of cases. We're an Austin, Texas-based company. We have our headquarters is in Austin, Texas. So we've got a good relationship with another really strong Austin, Texas-based company as well. So whenever you buy the servers from us, you've got a host of different warranty options, and we've got you get your software maintenance agreements are built in for the first 3 years when you buy any of our any of the hardware with our software. So we've got a really reliable and robust array of devices that work across the board. So that's certainly something that we're really excited about. And it kind of gives you another idea about what the form factors are, right? Mostly rack storage, and we've also got some towers as well. And so if we go back into our, 1 second here. Go back into the highlights here page, where when we start talking about the actual software itself, there's a couple different technologies that are really built into it that are the core of that value proposition. One of them is dynamic resolution scaling. And you can see here where there's a diagram that demonstrates what's going on. With dynamic resolution scaling, what's really happening is your browser and the client window, whichever you're connecting with, is able to really detect just exactly how many pixels are required to get that video to stream across. So it's processed at the server level. So what that means is that as you've got a larger and larger deployment with more and more people that are that are logging on and engaging with them with the stored video, and they're recalling archived video. The amount of traffic and bandwidth that's going to be coming over that network is reduced, right? And so the strains that might be experienced on that network can really be, minimized. And, we say up to 90%. Of course, that depends on scale, but even when you have one or two people viewing concurrently, you can really see some really appreciable benefits. And particularly when you're operating in a low bandwidth environment where, maybe expanding the video surveillance system might also potentially mean expanding some other parts of the system. Dynamic resolution scaling is one of those technologies that can hopefully minimize some of those things that are that can sometimes add up when you're adding a video system. The system itself has a host of features as well. And so what I'm going to do now, if you don't mind, is kind of toggle over into looking into the software itself. So we looked at some slides and some information on the software. Now we'll kind of get into how it looks, give you like a quick primer on how it looks and how it feels, and then we can go from there. So when we get this thing all booted up, right, this is actually the system that's right here at my house. So we can see all the fun activity happening in my townhouse here. So, this is a really good example here. So you can see how we've got a decent sized layout, but the cameras are able to pull up right away. And that's because we've got dynamic resolution scaling, right? It's not just because I have a fancy server here at my house. It really is just the same thing you would experience. And, because we're able to call up this video so easily and so quickly, it also means that we're able to take advantage of getting a much quicker response time, and you're able to be more on top of items as they go on. Got all kinds of different layouts and maps here. You can see the logical tree here has a host of different options. For my purposes here, I've got just a couple different cameras here, but we've also got this map feature as well, so we can pull those maps up and see those as well. And then we've got these custom features down here as well. And then we've got, of course, the individual camera streams listed here. So, the logical tree is listed over here. And then you'll have your top base modules up here where to help you manage the different functionalities. So your dashboard is the part of your screen where you're going to be able to see an overview of your system. It's going to have your version, your licenses. Here you can see where all of your storage is. So you can see that I've got 29 days of storage here. So all kinds of helpful information is located here on the dashboard. Live view we kind of went into already, but that's really important as well. Do kind of want to go into playback. I know playback is always something that is always very important. We want to be able to get some of that archive video when we need it. And I've got some cameras pulled up here right now, which allow us to look at some triggered events that we have here. So as you can see, I've got this triggered event. You can see the salt truck arrived pretty early this morning, 6:30 a.m. and left at 6:35 a.m. So that was why we were in good shape. So, but as you can see, we've got every single car that comes in and out has been saved here. And this was something that I was pretty easily able to set up right inside the software itself. Didn't have to go into, this is a Hanwha camera in this case. So I didn't have to actually go into the Hanwha camera. I didn't have to struggle around having to log into an IP address remotely and have to kind of push those out. I was really able to do it all right here. And so it makes it nice and easy to kind of go in and be able to select these cameras. In particular, this is the driveway camera that we're specifically talking about. And you can see the motion event that I've got pictured is right here, right? And so as the sensitivity has changed, as I need to modify my results, I can go in and do it all right here. It's the kind of thing that really our direct integrations make much more likely. So, the dedication that Salient has had to, making sure that we've got, the direct integrations that we've written with our own drivers, not relying on OnVIF as much as possible, because we can really sort of take advantage of those advanced features that way and to make the system much easier to manage. So I know that I've talked a lot. I've gone over a lot of material in the first part. And I know I've got some questions lined up here. I can take a few minutes here and pop into some of these. Yes, it is a Dell server, which was mentioned. French platform. So that's a really good question. Again, I'll just take a couple of these in the middle here. We do have localization that's been in the midst of rolling out, actually. So the most recent version of our software that was released about 6 weeks ago did not have French language support, but the next version that's coming out, I believe, is going to have that French language support. So I think Spanish language support was the first that we were doing, and there was some Chinese level support, but the localization is coming up next as well. So those will be some things we can look forward to in the future. So talking more about the software itself, and then I'll kind of get more into more of the questions. So this is a really nice feature here. You see, this is the alarm view, and this is, again, one of the modules that you can find up here at the top. You can find all of your basic modules all along the array up here. So what alarm view is it's again, it's a feature that comes with the system. It's fully featured, part of the 1 Pro or Enterprise level of software. And this is like basically like a little central station, or like a little monitor wall that you can kind of have, that has all of your critical cameras listed. And in particular, if you have event triggers or motion triggers or those sorts of events happening in real time, Alarm View can help you organize and collate that. Now, I've just got one alarm listed on this camera, so hopefully if we click our heels and cross our fingers, we'll be able to get a camera come across, and you'll see how it works. But what this does allow us to do is, if a car were to come across here, the camera would pop up with a live view. You'd have it all the events would be listed out here, and then as the events are happening, the playback and live view will be happening here as well. So it's a really, really cool feature that comes out. That's, again, it's a part of the Complete View service that we have. And it's one that, as I've talked to my customers who, have to manage more and more cameras and have an increasingly complicated system, this is one of those tools that can allow you to get the wheat from the chaff separated and really focus on what matters. So why don't we go back to the presentation a little bit. I mentioned a few minutes ago how we've got different levels of software. And I had mentioned some of the highlights, but it would be useful for us to get into some of the different versions, because we do have those different versions here, right? So as you can see with this little helpful dialogue here, we've got the 1 Pro and Enterprise. So the big thing to remember with all the software versions that Salient sells is that the end user owns those for life if they buy the perpetual license. So they're not tied to a MAC address, they're not tied to a server, they're not tied to this, they're not tied to that. If you are moving a server from one license to another, we do keep a record of that with the company, so that we can support our end users as best we can. We're as aware as anyone else is that these are really dynamic environments, and staff are coming in and out at all times. We always keep track of what's on each server, so that if you do have a situation where you're not sure, we've got a product ID that's saved and it's stored, and we can get you the information you need. But these different versions are where that increased flexibility come from. So for us, for the 1 is really one that is for those SMB clients. You're limited to having only 32 cameras on it. You're limited to the number of servers you can have on it. Again, unlimited clients, but you're not going to have that deep well of functionality. It's Pro and Enterprise where we have a lot of our of the customers. The real big difference here between Enterprise and Pro is, 1, you've got, again, monitor wall features here, but you've also got additional cloud support and N+1 failover along with Active Directory integration. So certainly, if you're getting into those environments where you have tens of thousands of records, you're having to deal with a host of different different departments, and I'm thinking in this case of hospitals, higher ed, the enterprise is where you're going to want to be, because that's where the Active Directory support lays as well. And so in terms of where Salient has played, we've had a host of success really across a range of verticals. I'm based in upstate New York. I've unfortunately been unable to get into Canada for a while now, but we've got a good group of partners up in Canada, and we've had a great deal of success, working with some of our government partners and in the private sector as well, pushing the product. It's one that I think is well situated to coming strong here in 2021. I think the fact that we really do have the open platform is something that is going to be really key in this industry, because we do have a lot of players that are asking you to make a very serious investment when you make an investment in video surveillance, because you're also investing in cameras. You're also making choices on AI. You're making choices that are touching other parts of your business that you might not be realizing that you're making choices of when you're making the choice of video surveillance, of the video management software. So I guess if there was one message I want to leave you with, it would be that one, that when there's I think COVID has shown us that it's impossible to predict what's going to happen, even a few months from now, to say nothing of 5 years from now, which is how long a typical server is installed, right? Or maybe a piece of software that lasts 18 months or 2 years. It's very challenging to know what needs are going to come up during that time. And I think where we really have been committed throughout this entire process, but certainly before as well, is playing nice in the sandbox, is having that open platform that allows our channel partners and allows our end users to make decisions about the technologies that they want to be involved with. So as we kind of wrap up, I want to leave you with that. Certainly, from a training and support standpoint, we do everything we can to make sure that our partners are supported. So, we do have classroom training that is challenging given the current dynamics. We do have remote certification training as well. We've got free e-learning applications. We've got all kind of interactive tools. The last thing we want to do is to have a product that is not supported well. So we've got all kinds of we have our design tool wizard online. We've got demos that you can watch as well. And because that's really important to make sure we've got those up here as well. We've got the software maintenance and stuff that we had talked about previously. So that kind of gets into all that. But yeah, I think in terms of training and support, that really is what's really important to us. And as I'm wrapping up here, these are the numbers you can call. This is the team that's behind you. We're really excited about what's coming up here in 2021. It's been a very hectic 12 months. It's been a very challenging period of time. But we've made some investments, and we're ready to embrace what comes in the next few months and years. And I'm here to support you if you see value in our product, and I look forward to engaging with you all in the future.
Thank you, Josh. That was great. If anyone has any questions for Josh, please type them into your Q&A window now. And looks like we have a number of them, so we'll see how many we can get through. First up, is it compatible with Software House Secure 9000 version 2.8?
2.8, I would have to check back on. I believe we are, if we're not, we're in the midst of doing it right now. We, in fact, just had a call yesterday that I was actually not a part of, where we kind of did a review on that. So I will take a note and send you a note back. Should be really easy. Give me a couple hours, I can get the answer on that.
Okay. Is there a specific list of approved access cameras?
Yes, there is a specific list of access cameras. Those resources can be found on our website, is like the broad takeaway. But of course, David, I'll be happy to send that list over to you. And then to answer the other question, Steve, I see it here. Can the motion sensor be programmed for certain periods of time? You can go in and sort of put on a time schedule to when that individual component can be used. So you'd have two steps to it, where you sort of turn it on and off, and then if it's on, here are the ways that it should work. So that's how it would work inside the software.
Great, thank you.
Francisco, great question. In terms of our release cadence, we release new versions of our software every quarter. So you can rely on there to be 4 releases every year. We've found that we do maybe 1 or 2 other ones as well, right? There'll be a customer thing that comes up or some other release that comes up. So, minimum of 4 and maybe 1 or 2 extras throughout the year. Great question. In terms of the analytic capabilities, I didn't talk about that because that was a big part of the open architecture, right? So we don't have a lot of native analytic capabilities. You can do motion, detection. You can do motion searching. You may have noticed there were a couple different options that were in the camera view that are above them, that are sort of in the same vein as that. In terms of the higher end analytics, the analytics that we're seeing about temperature detection and heat mapping and all that kind of stuff, those are the sorts of things that we want to be those who specialize in managing, recording, and archiving and producing that data when you need it. When it comes to anything else coming in attached to it, we'll leave that to our integrations team and those third parties. So that's our philosophy there. Analytics. Yeah, so great. That's a corollary question. Natively, no, it doesn't go much beyond that in terms of who we partner with. Again, we partner with BriefCam, we partner with AnyVision. We will partner with pretty much anybody. Certainly if it's an end user who comes to us with basically any business case, we will go down that road. We've really augmented our integrations team so that we are positioned to be nimble, right? Because we're not really able to predict what the technology is going to happen in the future. 12 months ago, everyone wanted to know the temperature of the forehead, right? Like what was the temperature of someone walking through? We don't know. A year from now, it could be something different, right? So we're going to rely on the marketplace to help sort that out. Ronald, your question, yeah, you can. So we have our own hardware that we sell, and we've got a whole proposition behind that. It can be used in a virtual platform, right? Is probably the other way to put it, right? So we've got a native platform that we sell. Alternatively, it can be placed in a virtual environment, and then you can host your own virtual environment with a server, with an HP server platform you build yourself. You can use Hyper-V. You can use, VMware. You'll want to have a conversation with our engineering team, because ultimately a lot of our intellectual property is built into some of the tools that we talked about. The server side processing, a lot of the work that Complete View is doing is stuff that we work with Dell to make sure that the server is optimized. So there's going to be a top line penalty related to using VM, but there's no architectural reason why you can't do it. And there's no reason why you can't have a lot of success with it. We've had a lot of success with clients in a virtual environment. We sell both direct and through distribution. So our distribution channel, we work with Annixter, ADI, and PSA primarily, but certainly ADI and Annixter primarily. Any limit of storage time? Yeah, so yes, yep. So we are compatible with H.265 and all the different compression, video compressions. When the server is built, and this is, Val, your question is one that relates to our design tool, which in a 30-minute window, I don't have time to get into every little thing, but the servers are designed a la carte, right? There's no 16-channel option. There's not a 32-channel option. So we want to understand the camera inputs that are coming into the server. We want to understand the storage needs. We want to get an idea of, is it 24/7? Is it 30 days? Is it whatever? And then once we know all those variables, then we can allocate the amount of resources, whether it be processor, memory, GPU, or hard drives. The Dell hard drives that we use, the higher end ones, they're RAID 5, RAID 6, they're hot swappable. We have quad NIC units, we've got a very robust relationship with Dell. So whatever it is that whatever situation you find yourself in, we can get hardware to support it. Are there drawbacks to having everything? Yeah, I mean, so the biggest drawback you're going to experience is the lack of it's not a purpose-built device, right? It's a data server. So we generally find that there's a 20 to 25% haircut in terms of processing. So when we go through our design tool wizard, we have to compensate for that. We generally don't want to see more than 75% consistent use. So we'll try and limit that. But yes, there are limitations related to resource allocations when it comes to using a virtual environment. And I think I just made it, Steve.
Yeah, perfect timing. You got us right to 2:30, answered all the questions. So that brings us to the end of today's session. Thank you for joining us. Once again, thank you to Josh Keaton and Salient Systems for their support. At the close of this session, a link to register for next week's session will pop up. Please be sure to register. We look forward to seeing you next week. Until then, be well.